Hello, the Pioneer viewers. As you know, our agenda is the Russia-Ukraine war. The war is in full swing and both sides are struggling to increase their gains. There are many different views and theories about the war. In the most of these views and theories, strategy and planning are seen as an important element. In basic war policies, the enemy is not fought only at the front. It must be fought on every field and in every area. As a matter of fact, as the number of the fronts increases, it becomes more difficult to control the war. More difficult war conditions lead to the establishment of more control mechanisms. As a result of the establishment of control mechanisms, a great war organization emerges. While some fronts are on the defensive, others are on the offensive. Following Russia's invasion attempt against Ukraine, the war has spread over a wide area. Due to the territorial extent of the war, clashes have taken place and continue to take place on many fronts. Since the first days of the war, the Russian army entered Ukrainian territory with intense attacks. Having achieved certain gains in Ukrainian territory, the Russian army was stopped by the Ukrainian defense. After the Russian army was stopped, the Ukrainian army took the stage. The Ukrainian army, which organized incredible attacks on the occupying Russian army in different parts of the front, changed the course of the war. The Ukrainian army, which went on the offensive against the Russian army, achieved significant gains and realized one of the best examples of homeland defense. But the war still continues on different fronts. In the ongoing war, the attacks and defense positions of the Ukrainian army clearly visible. The images and news that emerged in the past days showed that the Ukrainian army made important moves in the Avdiivka region. It turned out that the Russian troops withdrew from the region, leaving their tanks. Now, if you are ready, let's examine the latest developments together. As the Pioneer team, we continue to report on the Russia-Ukraine war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. I also read all your comments on our videos. Please continue to share your ideas about our content in the comments with us. Let's start if you're ready. The Pioneer Reports. The news that emerged in the past days revealed important facts about the situation on the front lines. The news provides important information about the situation of the Ukrainian army and the Russian army. After the Russian army launched an offensive on the Eastern Front, the Ukrainian army's response was not delayed. Russia launched a push for Avdiivka last October, and Moscow's forces suffered the highest losses of the war. Russian military experts pointed to a strategy and hard-won advance on the town, but the expected results was not achieved. The Avdiivka region is a strategic center. Moscow's seizure of the area will be the key to Ukraine taking full control of the Donetsk and Luhansk. Valery Zaluzhny, widely recognized as the Ukraine's best general, commands Ukrainian forces in the region. In the region where the clashes continue intensively, the Ukrainian army is making the best use of the means at its disposal. According to local sources, Avdiivka has been the scene of the most intense fighting on the front line in recent days, and citing Ukrainian data, on some days about 40% of the combat engagements took place in a small area. According to the military experts' assessments, Ukrainian forces in the region are putting up strong resistance. Successful counterattacks by Ukrainian troops prevent Russian forces from taking full control of the villages of Stepov and increasing the Russian presence in the region. According to local sources, it appears that the Russian troops are attempting to pincer movement to encircle Avdiivka and the heavily protected industrial zones. Ukrainian units are monitoring Russian troops advancing in the unspecified forest areas near Stepov. The Ukrainian army is reportedly trying to accomplish the task of holding Avdiivka at all costs. It is known that more than 40 battalions from 8 brigades of the Ukrainian armed forces transferred from the western part of the front are concentrated in this direction. There is a heavy Ukrainian presence in the region, which is critical for the Ukrainian army. The head of the Ukrainian Avdiivka city military administration, Vitaly Barabash, said that Russian forces are constantly attacking Ukrainian positions near Avdiivka, regardless of the weather conditions. The Ukrainian General Staff made statements on this issue recently. It said that Ukrainian troops repelled at least 39 Russian attacks within 6 miles in the various directions of Avdiivka and near Stepov. New footage from the region shows Russian forces losing a rarely seen armored personnel carrier not far from the embattled town of Avdiivka, a hotspot in the war in eastern Ukraine. The images posted online by Ukraine's 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade show a BTR-90 armored personnel carrier abandoned in the column of destroyed and damaged vehicles near the village of Krasnohorivka in the disputed Donetsk region of the eastern Ukraine. The Russian military has reportedly abandoned many of its vehicles and equipments in the region in recent days. Deep into the second full winter of the all-out war in Ukraine, both sides are significantly depleting resources such as armored vehicles, especially since Ukraine launched its summer counteroffensive in early June. Evidence of the BTR-90s in eastern Ukraine last October was seen as a sign of rapidly rising Russian armored vehicles losses. In the first month of the Avdiivka fighting, Moscow troops lost 14 times as many vehicles as the Ukrainian army lost in the town. The Ukrainian army's general staff said its forces had thwarted 14 Russian attacks on the front line, ravaging the Donetsk town of Avdiivka, including the village of Novomykhailovka and Krasnohorivka south of the town. The Russian Defense Ministry did not mention the Avdiivka or Krasnohorivka in an operational update the other day, but the British government described Avdiivka as the most intense fighting zone on the front. Ukrainian fighters managed to stop Moscow by gaining full control of the village of Stepov, which Moscow had hoped to use to encircle the town, the British Ministry of Defense said in a statement. The Ukrainian army's defensive and offensive operations in the region continue. The strategic operations in the region are expected to affect the course of the war in the coming days. It is known that the Ukrainian army wants to continue its struggle with the support of the US and NATO countries. For this reason, the Ukrainian defense continues to strengthen its strength. In addition to weapons and ammunition support, the authorities are working carefully to build a strong Ukraine with social support. How you evaluate the defense and offensive operations of the Ukrainian army? What do you think about the shortcomings of the Russian army's strategy? How do you assess the successes of the Ukrainian army in strategy and planning? What do you think about the likely events on the front line in the coming days? We value your opinion. Please share it with us.